Hey everybody, it's Jackie, and we are going to compare the Fujifilm 23mm f1.4's original lens and the new lens, the LMWR, and I'm going to compare it on the X-T5. So I'll have some comparison shots and we can take a look at it and see if it was worth buying this one. Side by side, you can see that the older lens is a bit shorter and fatter, and the newer lens is more narrow and taller. Here's the old lens on the X-T5, and here's the new lens on the X-T5. Now what I did was I set up a tripod, I took some shots with both lenses, tried not to move anything, and used the same settings on the camera for both. So let's jump in and take a look at some of the comparisons that I found. Here I am in Capture 1, with a couple of images that I've taken. I used a tripod, manual settings, and used a remote release just to remove any chance of camera shake. Used all the same settings for both photos with each lens. The first one I wanted to take a look at was these books. The one on the left is the original lens, the 23mm 1.4R, and the one on the right is the new lens, 23mm. A green mark there and a red mark, so we can just keep track of which ones are which here down below. This was shot ISO 500, a 60th of a second at f1.4, both of them. Go ahead and make this a little bigger. Not much differences here on the top book at all, and I focused here on the word bulbs with a single point focus. As you can see, there is a little bit of purple fringing on the bulbs on the old lens, and not so much, and a little crisper here on the new lens. Go up to 100%. You might not be able to see it depending on the compression of YouTube when I upload this, but I can definitely see here some purple fringing, which is easily correctable in post if you needed to, but it is noticeable. You can definitely see it here too on the books. Not so much fringing. They're both still out of focus here. This is the area that was focused on, and of course it was at wide open, the lens at 1.4. Just zoom back out. One thing I did want to note is on the new lens, the field of view is just a little bit narrower. So you'll notice that in some of the other photos too. It's just cropped in just a teeny little bit. It is noticeable, and I did see it notated on DP Review about it. I'll share a link for that. At this one, which is my credenza, and look at these two. These were shot at f8 and 1/4 of a second at ISO 125. Let's just take a look and see how it looks here. And over here, it looks just not as crisp and a little less contrast there. The other thing I noticed too was, and it's very slight, but I think the colors are just a little bit punchier on the new lens. The shot looks really good. One thing that I did want to mention was the aperture ring. I love how the new lens is a bit tighter, and when you're turning it, you can actually feel the clicks and it stays in place. The older lens was much softer, easier to bump and change. And if you notice, there's a red button on the left side of the lens here in this photo, and that is the lock button. When you put the aperture ring in A for automatic, it's locked, and you press that button in to move it out of the automatic mode and set a different aperture. Really nice feature. I see it on a lot of the newer lenses from Fuji. Okay, let's wrap up this video. I've got the two lenses. I've got to make a decision. I'm going to keep the new 23mm LMWR, and I'm going to sell this original to KEH, and I'm going to be shipping it off today. I love this lens. It's been really great to have, but I would prefer to have a lens with the weather sealing, and I would prefer the linear motor. The autofocus is not as big of a deal for me. And just to be clear about this, it depends on your situation and the types of things that you photograph. I like to photograph a lot of things in the garden and flowers and insects, and I can take some time to do my photographs with that, and I don't need that rapid autofocus capability. But I do appreciate the weather sealing on this, and I do appreciate the quiet motor so that if I do want to do some videos, I can use this on my XS20. One thing I did want to mention is the clunking sound that you will hear on the new lens. I first encountered this on the 80mm macro, which I have, which is even louder because it's a much bigger lens, but these new linear motors have this floating elements inside that when you power it on the camera, completely locks up and goes away. You don't hear anything when you're using your camera. It's only when it isn't powered on. This old lens doesn't make any noise, but it does make quite a bit of noise when you are focusing. So there's the difference between those two. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you've enjoyed this content, and consider subscribing. I'm going to be making more videos. They're coming, and Henry will be back. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks and take care.